sir?
Good, thank you. A bit cold though.
Yes, well it's Mandy, it's up north. You should just thank you
Yeah,
yourself.
no, we're outside.
Yeah, it's not raining.
We should be inside.
We're kind of outside, inside, but yeah, it could be worse. I mean, you should have been up here for the snow.
I was in Australia at the time, so
so
you missed it.
You swerved that one.
Yeah, totally.
Well timed. So can you just tell us a little bit about how you got into this business and what kind of were, say, the catalysts and highlights to you, you know, to the international star that we see in front of us now?
I was quite lucky. I was, you know, one of them DJs that was breaking through with the whole bar culture, because you know, the early 90s there was no bar shut at 11 o'clock, and they went on the club till 11 till 2. I came through the sort of the late 90s, and there was a local club in my town called Club Class, which had regular guests like Cole Cox, Shades of Rhythm, John Digweed, Sasha, you know, the sort of superstar DJs that were breaking through at the time, and we used to go weekly, and I used to love it. You know, it was one of the things. I was in a band playing drums at the time, and I was just getting into electronic music, and I loved it, and I was like, I want to do this, I want to play. So I got my first set of decks, and then started making mixtapes. You know,
I remember them, good old
mixtapes, and then I used to give it to the club promoter called Serge, who now actually manages me, and I was so excited that I used to not write my name on the tape and just give it to him. And for about 4 or 5 weeks, he was trying to chase me down, and he was like, "Do you want to come and do a gig for us?" And it was a gig for the I think it was like their 3rd birthday or something. It was Boy George and Pete Tong, and it was like, we were going to put you on to warm up with, and then it just went from there really. And I got a lot of support from, you know, the big sort of boys like Express 2 at the time, and John Digweed and Pete Tong, and it just went from there. It just went slowly. Being a resident was the key to it, I think, because every week you'll be playing a different set. You'll be playing a 2-hour warm-up set before a certain DJ, and then one week you'll be playing 6 or 7 hours all night. So it made me sort of realise and respect certain times of the night as a DJ. You know, the warm up at the end of the night, and I think that sort of gets lost sometimes a little bit now. You know,
well, I've always said that I think, you know, a good warm-up is, you know, one of the most important and hardest things to do it.
Oh, yeah, totally. You can't be boring. You can't just play deep house on that. You've got to keep the floor, and you can't go past the marker.
You've got to show the respect to the next.
You know, when I was growing up, the people that I was looking up to at the time were people like Lee Burridge, Craig Richards, and Laurent Garnier, and they were accessible DJs. You know, they weren't the trendiest DJs at the time, but they were the people that were just doing their thing, and they weren't following the trend. And I still sort of look at them now and sort of trying to emulate what they're doing.
Well, that's how I, you know, often you look at the great DJs and you judge them and you're like, they haven't swung, you know, with, as you know, there's a lot of things going, you know, there's a lot of trends that come in as you
they haven't gone like straight up, they've gone gradually, and I like that.
And I find a lot of the time they'll come back into fashion a lot of the time.
Yeah,
and 3 or 4 years time. Do you know what? He's actually a really amazing DJ. Yeah. He's been a really amazing DJ for like 15 years, but it's just taken some like that away.
Yeah, you know, it's good. It's like, I did an interview with DJ Magazine, and I was trying to explain that it's not a sprint, it's like a marathon, isn't it? It's sort of like, you know, you don't want to be the centre of attention, you just want to just do your thing, and if people like you, just
that's where longevity comes from.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're very right.
There's another one as well, Danny House is another example. I think, you know, he's another one that really sets the bar when it comes to. We used to go to Bedrock and go and see him and John, but we used to go and watch Danny especially because he used to know how to do it. He used to kill it, you know, without showing off.
So how did you get into production then? I mean, you're saying you're in a band playing drums already.
Yeah. I think the person I've got to sort of say big up to is Andy Chatterley. He was the one that I first started working with in Skylight stuff. And my friend Rob Cockerton said, "Oh, just come make a record in the studio." And I was like, "Alright, okay." So I didn't have a clue what was going on. We went to this little studio in Greenwich where the actual tent hit the studio window. It was like the walls that came up, and I met Andy at the time. He was quite a hippie-ish type bloke. He had like the long sort of hair, and then we made the record. And at the end of the day, at the end of the studio day, I was like, "Look, let's come back and do some more stuff together." And we became doing the Skylark stuff, and he was teaching me a lot of the ways how to work in the studio. And he did teach me everything I needed to know. You know, he was the most chilled out person I ever met, and I learned a lot from him. And then we went on to the Skylark stuff, the Buick project stuff, and then the Nic Fanciulli stuff. You know, and I started doing the solo stuff because everything I learned of him was, you know,
you felt confident.
And he was, you know, he was a big inspiration to what I did. And you know, he's gone on now to do like, you know, But he was more always on the pop stuff, and he started doing stuff with Kylie now and Marina Palais, and so big up to Andy.
If you can get it,
No, he is that sort of person. He's so talented that he went, and that's who I learned on. So.
Excellent. So, what do you use in the studio? What's your platform?
Well, in the studio, when I was obviously working with Andy, we were using a lot of hardware because it was sort of early 2000s, late 90s, and we were using, like obviously the old Mac computers, and we were using EMU samplers. We were using the Motu sound cards, a lot of the Moog synths, and things like that. But as time went on, when I was travelling a lot, I was using a lot of stuff in the box. So I was basically using a laptop and using a lot of VST plugins and things like that. But now, finally, after sort of 10 years, I've got my own studio, which I've just finished now, and I'm so proud of it now. We've gone back to the old desk. We've got this great, we've gone for the Neve desk now. We've got the Orchid sound cards in there. We've gone for the Moog Voyagers, the Moog Mini Moog.
So that's all outboard gear?
A lot of outboard gear, because my brother's just started working with me, and he just passed his music degree for music engineering, and he's very anal about what's in the studio. And it's great to learn, because I'm a DJ and I'm production was second, and he's become production first, and he's told me a lot of stuff, and taught me a lot of stuff, and I've become quite anal as well now when it comes to music.
I think when it comes to music, you have to be. I did a course and the benefits of analog, I suppose.
Yeah.
Just get that really warm sound. Yeah, you have to be. I mean, I've got a similar approach to you with production. I'm taking it slowly. I don't want to put anything out that I wasn't 100% happy with. It's taken a while, but.
Well, I did that. I had the sort of era between with Andy and going on myself and doing my own stuff. And it was a little bit shabby. It was a bit like, just do everything on the computer and it's quick and easy. Right. But then I thought the way we used to do it was a lot better. Yeah, sampling and using, we used to use the MPC and the SP1200 and it had that real originality about the record. And then when you go in the box, it's the same as everyone else. Yeah. You become the same as everyone else, and now it's gone back to the old way, and I think I found it a lot better.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, we have a kind of mix of the two. But I was going to say, we're talking there about going from like the old outboard stuff to back into the bottom back end. What would you say? Has there been any single piece of software or kit that has really had a massive impact on the way? Well, number one on the way you DJ, but then on the way you produce.
I think for me, I was always quite anal with music. I was always like, I was speaking to another DJ called Mark Knight. This was like maybe even 8 or 9 years ago, and he was like, these CDJs are coming out, let's switch from vinyl to CDJs. I was like, that won't work. I'm going to stick to vinyl. I was working in a record shop at the time, and I was like, no, vinyl's going to be around forever. And it was, and then 2 weeks later, I was like, no, you're right. We're going to get the CDJs, and I did that, and then I went. About 2 years ago, I got hooked up with Native Instruments and started working with them really closely and jumped straight to Tractor. Right. Because I found that instead of burning CDs off, because I left vinyl because I kept getting lost on transit and to the gigs. And
trying to carry vinyl.
And now I spend more time programming my sets and working out the sets within Tractor, but still manually looking like I'm DJing because I'm still using CDJs. And it's the best move I've ever done. So Tractor for me is the best software DJ-wise that's ever been invented. Right. But for studio, I was always a Logic kid when I was working with Andy, all the way back to the Logic 4. But for me, the best piece of software for production has got to be Ableton, because it's a piece of software that you can use on the fly, you can get loops in quickly, you can sample stuff quickly, and then throw it back into Logic, and it's such a great piece of software. And that's what we need nowadays, because you get an idea, you can throw it down quickly, and then take your time. Yeah.
Well, that's we used to use Cubase, and now we use Ableton. Now we do it's just great. It's so fast. You can't ignore it. At first, you're stuck with your platform.
And at first, we were all like putting our noses up to it, going, it's just one of them other, PlayStation type softwares or something like that. But they really smashed it. They came to the table and they brought it.
So you've then gone on to start your own record label.
Yeah.
Saved. I mean, was that just out of you wanted to put your own stuff out, or did you? Well, when you started, did you start thinking, well, I still put some tracks out with this guy and this guy?
It was a funny story, this whole Save thing, because I obviously started with Andy when we were working quite closely together, and it was about putting our productions out originally. Right. And then we started getting so many great records through that I was playing out my sets, and and I started signing them and putting out. We put out the first Audio Fly record back in the day, and a few other bits and pieces. And then I did the 1+1 tour with James Avila, and totally took my eye off the ball, thinking that a record label can run itself. Right, it can't, because I spent a year on the road with James and totally ignored Saved. And I came back and they were like, the sales are really bad, there's no profile, and no one really knows what you're putting out, because you're signing records and putting them out so late that it's not relevant to the time that you signed it. And, you know, and I've said this to everyone, I made a big mistake, and I hope a lot of people can learn from that, because you can't just set a label up and just sign stuff and put it out like 6 months down the line. You've got to sign a record, work with the artist, and then I came back after that tour and I spent a year, I didn't do a compilation, I didn't write music for a year. I just put records on. And then the year after I started writing again, and it became really positive, you know, with the whole vinyl sales thing did, but the beat thing picked up, because people understood what we were putting out, instead of me just thinking I'm a DJ tour and I can put anything out. It doesn't work like that. They've got to believe in what you play, because I was putting records out and I wasn't playing them, so they're not going to go buy them.
Yeah, it's difficult to promote it.
So if you believe the record, like someone like Mark Broom who's playing now, he's got this new record called Super Snout. I absolutely love it. We're getting it remixed and we're putting it out within 2 months. So I'm still playing it, it's still relevant, and it's still
so important.
The right time, and I learned a hard lesson.
So you learned it now.
No, it's good. It's good that you labels care and attention. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. And so are you still releasing on vinyl as well?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, excellent.
It's great though, because the only people that buy it is Germans and Japanese.
The odd purists.
Oh, the Italians. Yeah, but no, it's great. We still do 400 or 500 units per release.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think that's important, because whereas we look at it, and a lot of people look at it and go, right, yeah, we'll just keep 4 CDs. There are actually places in the world, and there are DJs that are.
But like Martin, I was playing all commercial vinyl, and it's got a sexiness about it. It's got I don't play anymore, and I'm sort of hypocritical putting it out at the same time, but I'm only doing it because I think there's a market that wants to buy it. Not that I'm not doing it to make money, because we're not making money, we're breaking even on the vinyl, and we're doing it because we're trying to cater for people that want to play the music.
Yeah, I respect that. I like to keep the art form alive.
Yeah, it's great having a record sleeve.
Yeah, it means you can put it on people without ever actually creating anything physical.
No.
You can get it mastered. All it is, it's a file, and it's some artwork, and of course it is something.
Yeah,
but when you put it out on vinyl, you can hold it.
Yeah, music's become very disposable.
Yes,
and my favourite saying is, music's just become an expensive business card.
Right. Yeah.
And it has. It's become an expensive business card, because we make music. We don't make it to make money. We make it for your profile nowadays. It's totally different. Gone are the days where when I was working in a record shop, I could sell 5,000 units of Stardust or something, or a record like that, or a Joey Bell's Miniature Flash, or real great records. But now you can't do it. So you make music to be passionate, but at the same time as a business card, so people know what you're doing.
Yeah, I think I found when I got more into production, it also helped my DJing as well. Because I always had an understanding of how the tracks were put together, but when I actually sat there and taught myself apart to make music, I've heard that with a lot of producers and DJs that have then gone on to, they've been really good DJs, gone on to produce, and then you can kind of hear the way they DJ has changed.
I think mine definitely improved when I was producing, because you feel it, you put records out. You can hear records that you really like.
Yeah.
So just
you kind of get this sixth sense.
It just clicks.
We're going to talk a little bit about your brother work.
Yeah.
So it would seem that DJing is running in the family, runs through
I think he's been into music since he's been coming to our gigs since he was 13. His first gig when he was DJing was when he was 14. And he filled in for me.
Right.
Yeah, and it was great. But then he went on to university, and we sort of said to him, look, get your head down, because none of us have really been to university. Get your head down, get the music degree behind you. And he did it, and he stuck with it.
That's
really fantastic. And he got on with it. He didn't do a lot of gigs. He just got on with it, and he passed after 5 years doing his music degree. And then he started working for Saved, and at the start of January last year. And he's been one of the biggest helps for the last year with the label, because he's passionate, and having passionate people around you really helps. And he's each and every one of these guys, I want to go and DJ, I want to go and fly in, I want to go to the deep end and just play. He's just taking it slowly and slowly, working behind the scenes, doing his sort of apprenticeship, boot tuning and stuff like that. You know, he was the same as me when I was that age. I didn't ever want to be what I wasn't. I didn't want to be like, you know, I didn't look at people like Carl Cox and Sasha Digweed and think, I really want to be them. I just wanted to play the music in front of the people. Yeah. So, you know, and I think it's changed a lot now. People buy decks now because they want to be a superstar DJ. And back in the day, it was like, you know, you used to pay a bar for like 25 quid and the money wasn't the issue, you know.
Just playing out, I
found that's totally changed now. I found that it's not for everyone, obviously there are still passionate people, but they just want that, don't they? They don't want to go like that, they just want the top.
You see someone and go, I want to do that, I want to do that.
And they don't go for the ropes sometimes, and I like the hard way up.
Yeah, you respect people when you don't.
I've done so many, and I'm sure you have as well. I've done so many gigs that I can look back and say, you know what, that was terrible. And I put myself through that for 3 hours, but I learned more from that than probably what I would do at a good gig.
Yeah, rocking a good gig.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, well, they can be more difficult, can't they? You have to really dig something out of yourself to turn it around and when you can feel great.
Yeah, and it's great when you turn up at a place and there's no one there and you're gutted. You've just flown like 4 hours and you've got there and there's no one there. But by the end of your set, the room's rocking.
Yeah. Or even if it's not totally full,
no, it doesn't have to be
everyone's
full,
dancing. That's when you come up, you feel proud of
I got that now, and then you got to keep it. It's like